hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente de esa mejor cerveza. No abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito San Dieguito, a.k.a. Bobby Ball, not with us this morning. But, job or no job, dead or alive, we properly salute him. Yes, 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 yes! Woo! Remember this, folks? When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, well, we're fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you. Today is the 7th day of August, 2023. And the Let Them Play boys are out in Cooperstown kicking ass and taking names. They actually got the number 2 seed out of 96 teams. And I believe, and I'm going to check this right now, but I believe they're currently playing. They played their first bracket play game yesterday. And then today, they're back at it again. It's a wild tournament. Just think about that. Because 96 teams make the A bracket, which is just unfathomable on how you would even try to put that together. I mean, if you thought the NC2A basketball tournament was a shit show, I mean, wow. And then this morning, by the way, Sam Danzy, who one of my favorite kids I've ever coached. He is Ben Greaves' nephew. More importantly, Katie Greaves' son. And Katie and Sam have just been staples with LTP. They live in Texas. They're just awesome. And it's Tom Greaves' grandson. Well, Sam is still one of the smaller kids. And you kind of got these big kids and smaller kids and puberty kids and not be right. Like, it's just such a weird age. And Sam was the only one who had not hit a home run in Cooperstown. But wait, there's more, because he drilled not 1, but 2 homers today. So good on Sam. I'm trying to pull up the score here, figure out exactly what's going on. I just got a live update. Holy shit. You ready for this? 25-5. So here are the scores. They played the Lakeville Cardinals and they won 11-1. Good win. This was on Thursday. On Friday, they played the Glacier Grizzlies. The final score, 30-0. On Friday, they played the Guilderland Bulldogs as well. Final score, 20-3. On Saturday, they played the Coney Major League All-Stars. They won 20-0. On Saturday, they played the Spokane Americans. They won 16-2. On Sunday, which is yesterday, first bracket play game, they won 16-3. Like, if you're going back and looking at 11-1 is the closest game that they've had. And so currently, they're playing the Hits Elite Cooperstown, and they're up 25-5. Here's where it's going to get interesting, though, because if my calculations are correct, and I have to reconfirm with the attorney updater, which is my wife, Tara. Our next game, this will get us into the quarterfinals. And our next game would be against who? The West Coast Feds. That I just about could promise you is not going to be 25-5. The Feds are really, really good. And they have 3 players that have played with Let Them Play, including Landon King, who might be the best player in the tournament, 3 homers yesterday. Jake Scott, who's another just big kid, hits absolute nukes, a little raw. And then Aiden, who normally plays with us, is playing with them this week. Now, we did help say not so much Jay, but Aiden get over there to play because we had a full roster. But this is going to be a hell of a game. So I'm looking forward to that. I did not intend to start this show off with the youth baseball stuff, but I got the call from my wife, who's taking Chloe down to the airport in Sacramento currently. And she's going to Chile. But her flight has already been delayed, if not canceled, so we're trying to figure out what exactly to do with that since we are sending our 14-year-old to a foreign country by herself. Now, I'll get into the weather issues, and I imagine it's delaying a lot of the flights around the country right now because the whole eastern half of the United States is under severe weather watch. Let's get right into it. A lot to cover, including, a brawl. Philly fans, I got to tip my cap to you. A TV. Is that what killed the Pac-12? We'll dive into that. And then, what the fuck is going to happen with Stanford and Cal? This is a huge, huge issue. There's some teams in the Pac that are on the outside looking in. And then, of course, what I just mentioned, the severe weather that we'll talk about and try to figure out. But let's start off with today's Daily Hustle. Buenos dias. Today is Monday, August 7, 2023. Spent yesterday proofreading the soon-to-be-released book, Let Them Play, Playing, Coaching, and Parenting Guide to Youth Sports. One of the player codes that we expect kids to adhere to at all times is go hard, which we wholeheartedly believe is a mentality expressed through actions. Don't tell me, show me. Here's a quick excerpt from the book and a simple example I used that involved a run-in with a former player. Quote, I had a teammate in the big leagues that was an incredible baseball player, and he played the game pretty hard most of the time. Every now and again, when things were not going his way, he would slack on the field by jogging after a ball or not running out of pop-up. Often, when we were in various social settings, he would say, Byrnsie, I'm just like you. We play hard. I would politely nod my head and turn away until finally, one day, after a non-hustling incident occurred with the guy, I snapped. Look, dude, I love you, and you do play hard most of the time. But quit telling people you play hard all the time because that's bullshit. If you want to be known as a hard-ass motherfucker, quit telling people and start fucking showing them. Hustle doesn't take plays off. Ever! Team Go Hard is not something you choose to be a part of on any given day or play. It's a mentality and a lifestyle that is eternal and uncompromising. EB. P.S. Join the award-winning Daily Hustle live interactive video podcast, 8:30 a.m. by clicking link below. Sorry about the tardiness. I should say sometime between 8:30 and 9. It just depends. I had to take Sissy Small Fry to the barn this morning, so. Anyhow, as I was going through the book yesterday, and I knew we had this Daily Hustle coming up, I've slacked on the Daily Hustles mainly because just the fresh content and fresh writings because I've been focusing so much on going through the final iterations of the book. But I ran across this, and I think it was number 4 in the player code of conduct, which is just go hard. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I think too often, and I notice this, even with some of the kids, is that we like to talk about our team and how we do the little things better and how we are always hustling and the energy is always great and we never take a play off. But I can tell you as a coach now, as I watch the boys, that's not the case. They do a really good job. They probably do a better job than 95% of the teams out there. But I still think there's 5% of these teams that potentially do this better than we do. And it is as simple as hitting a pop-up, putting our bat down to the ground, putting our head down, and running our asses off to second base. As soon as I would hit a pop-up, and I did this literally from Little League on, I would be so frustrated, a pop-up, a fly ball, whatever, that I would put my head down and I would bust my ass as quickly as I could to get to second base if that ball fell. And I could not tell you guys how many times that I would end up on second base either because of an error or the ball wasn't caught and it fell in there. And instead of getting a single, I ended up getting a double. This is something, though, that if you want to be a premier member of Team Go Hard, it's not, hey, I just missed that ball. I'm feeling good today. I'm going to run it out. It's every single time. Every single fucking time. Not one play off. You hit a routine ground ball to third base, at least 90, 95% down the line every single time. I don't need the 100. I really don't like the 100 full. On certain plays maybe, but on these routine ground balls, I'm talking float and work on your form all the way through the bag, putting the pressure on the defense, because that there is what then can force errors. I do think there's a category that they should have in Major League Baseball. I know they have the category like reached on an error, but I think forced errors is a real thing, and it's done with speed, and it's done by always consistently being in that 90 to 100% range, just busting it on them. But unfortunately, it's not always the case. Even in the field, look, if it's a ninth inning and you're up by, I don't know, 5 runs, and there's a fly ball hit, and there's 2 outs, and you're like, yeah, fuck it. We're up 5 in the ninth. No big deal. I'm going to let this fall. As opposed to, hey, I'm going to lay out because I think I can catch this ball. Well, if you think you can catch it, fucking catch it. Don't let this ball fall just because it's the 9th inning. You got a dude on the mound that this is his livelihood. And so we're going to slack down because we perceive this game to be in control? No. This isn't a choice as to when we're going to hustle. So don't ever refer to yourself as a Team Go Hard member, as a hustler, as a we play hard. Fuck that, man. You want to play hard? Play hard all the time. Don't play hard when it's just convenient for you. Don't play hard when you got 3 hits and you're like, oh man, I'm on top of the world. Life's great. Play hard all the fucking time. Simple as that. So there's the big message for today. I am almost through the book. I just went through the player codes of conduct along with the whole intro and the way I broke it up amongst, talked about the basically the first part of the book is breaking down what we call the introductory years, which is the 1 to 6, 0 to 6, the formidable years, which is the 7 to 12 range, which I think we can have the most impact, and then 13 and beyond, which are the guiding years, and really get into those and what our role as parents and coaches and even players would be in that role and how we could set our kids up for success. And then I get into the creation of the let them play organization, and then follow that up with the let them play creed, which I think is one of the fucking coolest things I've ever written. Now, I did it under the pretense of, or under the guidance, I'm not sure if pretense is the right word, of the Navy SEAL creed. But I changed it around a lot, and I added some things. But it's so cool. It really is. The first time I read it, I don't know, the past couple months, and it gives me the chills every single time. And then we get into the codes of conduct, which is 22 codes of conduct for the players, 22 codes of conduct for the coaches, and ultimately 22 codes of conduct for the parents. I think I slacked last year because I think there were some teams that didn't adhere to all of it. And I don't think everyone's going to be perfect. But at the same time, this year there will be more accountability that'll be taken by all of us. And I'm not just putting it on one person or one team or anything else, but I'm going to hold the entire organization accountable for our actions from either the players, the coaches, or the parents, from start to finish through the entire season. And if you can't adhere to them, then fuck it. We don't need you. It's as simple as that, because that's not who we are. That's not what we represent. Okay, stories we can't ignore. I was taken aback by how excited I was to come on here and talk about some of the things that happened over the weekend. The first one was the brawl that took place Friday night between Tim Anderson and Jose Ramirez. This was like few baseball brawls that I've ever seen, basically because Jose Ramirez slides into second base. Tim Anderson, boom, drops a tag. Ramirez was safe. Anderson leaves a tag on him, a little long too. And then Ramirez was obviously visibly upset when he came up, and he was actually pointing into Tim Anderson's face. What I believe he was saying is, yo, dude, you just tagged me in the face and was fucking hard again. Quit that shit. I told you this. Quit it. Well, 100% Jose Ramirez was the aggressor in that situation. You get tagged, you come up, you're all of a sudden in a man's face. Tim Anderson obviously doesn't give a fuck. So he takes his glove, takes the ball. I wonder if there's any timeout called. But glove ball, throws it off to the side, and then gets in the fighting Irish position. I'm like, no way. So then here's Jose Ramirez. He's smaller, so he gets in the position. Tim Anderson then throws the first haymaker. And it was a big, wild right hook. Jose Ramirez ducks it barely. Then comes back around with a little, just call it jab to the stomach. Both of their punches were fucking awful, by the way. Obviously not a whole lot of martial arts taken between the two of them. Because as soon as you expose yourself here, or even here, it could get shady. But Jose Ramirez comes like this, and at the same time, Tim Anderson throws another haymaker. Misses again. At which point, Jose Ramirez was able to come up and gets him with like a side of the hand punch, boom, but flushes him. Now, I do believe, most likely, he was off balance to start because there's a lot of moving parts and pieces. So as soon as he gets hit, you see this, and then down goes Anderson. Milo Hamilton, one of the greatest calls in the history of baseball broadcasting. So from there, both teams run in. There were some words that were exchanged, went back and forth. Terry Francona was going at it with the White Sox manager, and eventually things settled down. Well, we hopped on this right away at No Filter. Henry sent the video, and he was like, holy shit, this just happened. So he came out right away with his, what he called his best EB impersonation, which I thought was pretty good. But then later in the night, as I analyzed the brawl and I was watching, trying to figure out exactly what happened, then I came up with another one. Look, Anderson's got a history of this. This wasn't a one-time incident. I'm like, there's no way, because he hit him in the face, and no one likes getting hit in the face. But this is after you had people telling Anderson, this shit's not cool, man. And Ramirez's comments after the game were basically, look, we're all out here trying to provide for our families. We're trying to make a living. You don't need to be a fucking asshole and start hard slapping and hard tagging everybody and hitting people in the face. It's bullshit. Right? You're jeopardizing guys' careers when you're doing stuff like that. And I'll give you an example, and this is why Jose Ramirez is so pissed. But you had Anthony Rizzo, who was having a career year. Literally, got off to an amazing start at the beginning of the season. And it was Fernando Tatis Jr. over at first base on a pickoff. And it might have been a back pick or whatever it was, but Fernando Tatis comes back in to first, and he comes in standing up, which he should have slid, number one, but he comes in standing up, and he hip checks him. And somehow, I don't know if it was Rizzo like this, grabbing the ball here, but he comes back and he hip checks him and he hits him in the head. He was removed from that game, I believe, and went under concussion protocol. They didn't find anything significant to think that he should stay out. He continued to play. And because of that, and this is why you have to be so careful with the concussion thing. But because of that, it just continued to get worse and worse and worse. Until just recently, this is, a month, 2 months later, you're looking at it and the numbers spoke for themselves. He's been really struggling. But he still has a concussion. It's still there. And so now he's out indefinitely, and hopefully not. But this is a type of thing that could end a career. Not to say that Fernando Tatis did that intentionally. I don't know. It looked weird. The hip thrust at the end, it didn't look great. I don't think he tried to hit him in the head intentionally. Maybe it was just kind of getting away to jar a ball loose. But the play was really, really weird. So back to this brawl. Tim Anderson then went on social media. And he goes on a rant after the on-field scrap with Jose Ramirez. So it says, there's an article here. Chicago White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson was in his feelings following his fisticuffs with Cleveland Guardians second baseman Jose Ramirez, tweeting through it in a social media rant Sunday night. Anderson's series of tweets covered a lot of ground from, quote, this is all happening for a reason, to keep kicking on me while I'm down. A few of Anderson's teammates seemed aimed at those poking fun. A few of Anderson's teammates seem aimed at those poking fun at him after being KO'd by Ramirez on Saturday. However, several now deleted tweets contained more sinister language. We ain't never tripping. This shit's bigger, Anderson tweeted. We gonna catch up with him later. In another post, Anderson hinted that his beef with Ramirez goes deeper than Saturday's altercation, saying, he got off me, we ain't tripping about that. This shit bigger. What Anderson meant is anyone's guess, but whatever the motive, he felt the need to rid those particular thoughts from his timeline. While Anderson has been outspoken about the incident, even cryptically, Ramirez didn't mince words when discussing his feelings. I think he's been there's a quote from Ramirez. I think he's been disrespecting the game for a while now. It's not just today, Ramirez said via Bally Sports in Cleveland. As the play happened, he tagged me again really hard. And notice that again word. And then he wanted to fight, so I defended myself. The run-in between Anderson and Ramirez spilled into a bench-clearing Donnybrook at Guaranteed Rate Field. What's Donnybrook? A bench-clearing Donnybrook. Is that slang for a brawl or something? Because it wasn't. It says resulting in 6 ejections. No one was fucking throwing punches except for those two. There will undoubtedly be suspensions handed out on both sides, but we'll have to wait and see in the war of words afterward impacts the punishment for Anderson and Ramirez. Yeah, let's see what the Donnybrook is. And by the way, just buenos dias to Jesse Byrnes, my brother from another mother, Andre Duke, Giuseppe Pepe Manuele, Pete. How about Johnny Manuel Ramos Henderson from Makati City? Of course, we're international once again. So, looking at this, I mean, I just got to believe that, now we're in a situation where these guys, Anderson wants revenge. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. But I wonder if he would be so hurt if he didn't get knocked the fuck down. And he didn't get knocked out. And I actually, it wasn't the strongest of punches. If dudes are going to fight, like, look, everything's in here. As soon as you guys start getting out here, it's just less powerful and not nearly as impactful. So, the other big story from the weekend, Trey Turner, who has had a horrific year for the Philadelphia Phillies. And look, is it a horrific year in the grand scheme of things of Major League Baseball? No, not really. But for a guy that just signed a brand new contract, I think a 5-6 year contract to go play in Philly for, $100+ million. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal because he had high expectations, and you're talking about Philly, and Philly's a fucking big sports town that is relentless when it comes to its expectations. So, article here says it's been a tough year for Trey Turner during the first season with the Phillies, despite Turner struggling both offensively and defensively. Fans in Philadelphia pulled together to give their oh shit. I didn't realize he signed for $300 million. $300 million shortstop. A standing ovation on Friday during the team's clash against the Royals. The act of kindness from fans at Citizen Bank Park did not go unnoticed by the 30-year-old, who responded with a heartwarming gesture of his own, making very clear that the standing ovation was well received. Turner bought a series of billboards across Philadelphia in order to thank the Phillies fan base. On the billboards was a message that read, "Thank you, Philly." So here it is. Now, why is he saying thank you, Philly? Well, the reason being, like, usually you would say that on the way out, right? Amazing run. Played 10 years here. See ya. This is unprecedented because this is a guy who's in his first year of the contract. And he's thanking fans. Now, the good things about the billboards these days is that they're electronic. So they roll to the next one. But it's just a really cool gesture. It says a 2-time All-Star has been the recipient of plenty of boos this year from the Philadelphia fans. But they flipped the script on Friday with their strong show of support. Turner recorded one hit in Friday's game and launched a 3-run homer on Saturday as part of a 2-hit game, his first multi-hit outing since July 23rd. Turner is slashing 238, 291, 378 with 11 home runs, 39 RBIs this year. His lowly 668 OPS is far and away the worst mark of his career. For reference, Turner hasn't recorded an OPS below 809 since 2018. Under contract with the Phillies through the 2033 campaign. You got to be careful. You do with these long-term contracts. I think, look, Turner's super athletic. And so what makes him a great player is his athleticism. But if you look at athletes, like at some point their athleticism is what makes them great players. I can tell you, I was one of them. And at a certain point you'll deal with 1-2 little things, injuries, whatever it is. And if you take away that athleticism, not nearly as explosive as they were before, which is what made them great offensively, defensively, all of it. And that motherfucker plays hard. And so when you're playing hard and you're getting it after it, the way Trey Turner's getting after it, it takes a toll. And this is something I've thought about this. Remember that Trey Turner was the star of the WBC. So the question becomes, did those games early on, those meaningful sort of games, have any kind of impact on how he has done this season? That said, I have no idea. But I do know that one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time is watching the fan base of Philadelphia get behind a dude that was struggling so mightily. And if that doesn't go to show you what we are capable of as human beings when we come together and we throw out positivity and we throw out love instead of cynicism and negativity and criticism, you just say, fuck it, I'm supporting this guy no matter what, and let's see if we can will him to do something. Now, I don't know how many ovations he got through the course of the weekend, and I don't know if those cheers went to jeers, if he struck out or got out, like, he did through the course of the weekend at some point. But you just got to love it. You really do. And Bryce Harper had a lot to say about it. He was really complimentary of the Philly fans. And Bryce said that he actually has wished he played his entire career in Philly. He loves the fan base. He loves the expectations. He loves the culture. And if that's the case, fuck it. Yeah. I do think some people are meant for it and some people aren't. Personally, I would have loved it. I would have been like Bryce. Bring it on. Because I'm my own harshest critic. Now, I got booed at home at one point, and it sucks. It really does. There was a time when Dan Herron and I used to sit in the corner of the dugout and they announced the Diamondbacks lineup. And when they announced my name, the two of us would go, boo! We were booing ourselves. I'd laugh about it, and then I'd go on from there. So, all right, some more news. The Pac-12 is fucking done. It's sad. I can't believe that ever in my lifetime we would talk about the abolishment of the Pac-12. And then when USC and UCLA left, even in my mind, I'm like, yeah, those are two big schools, but so what? Like, they'll figure out something to replace those schools and to continue to keep, quote unquote, the Conference of Champions surviving and thriving. Well, I think we're getting to a point where I don't see how you could save this. I really don't. Maybe a merger with the Big West or the WAC. That's it. That's the only way to try to keep this conference alive. So it says potential Power 5 exclusion of Stanford Cal. So that was the one story. I wanted to read the other one first. Let me see if I can find it. Here's this is the TV killed the Pac-12. No, maybe not. Anyway. So it says with the smoke clearing from the ransack of the Pac-12 conference, 4 different weekend conversations with college administrators came back to the same place, a mangled bewilderment and indignation of the status of Stanford and Cal. Can two elite academic institutions and all sports titans located in the populous and affluent area really be kicked to the curb by the Power 5? As of today, the answer is yes. We'll see about tomorrow. Regardless, there is no convenient solution for the two Bay Area universities. We must find a home for Stanford and Cal, one prominent administrator with no ties to either school told SI. This is shameful, he called it. My respect for what they achieve is off the charts. Cannot imagine them without a legit home. In a world where TV revenue guides every decision, the football steers all TV revenue discussions. Stanford and California are not near the top of the viewership food chain. They're also not at the bottom, with one compilation of 2022 football viewership data listing Cal as the 45th most watched program in the nation and Stanford 47th. That's not that fucking bad. I would have put them lower for sure. That's still ranked ahead of 16 Power 5 conference teams. 20 if you count the 2023 Big 12 newcomers. Our system is about tribalism. How big is the tribe you bring to the stadium and to watch on TV? Observed a fifth administrator more dispassionate than others about the plight of the Bay Area schools. They don't have very big tribes. I don't know. Do they not? Yeah, Joe, you're right. It's a Pac-4, man. But do they not have tribes? Stanford and Cal, I think, have tribes. Let's not forget the tribe that saved Cal baseball from being banished a few years ago, that came together to save that. And then Stanford, look, they have a relatively disinterested fan base because they suck. There's no other way to put it. They've been awful under David Shaw for the past X amount of years. Now, I'm not even saying, I don't know how much of that Shaw's fault, recruiting's fault, the university's fault for not letting enough kids in. I don't know where they went wrong, but they fucking went wrong. And they've been dog shit. And so at some point, they're going to have to put a winning product on the field to bring the tribes back out. But when I was a kid, and both schools were meh, I would go to the big game, and there would be nearly 100,000 people at these games. It was insane. Whether you were going to Memorial Stadium at Cal or you were going to Stanford Stadium in Palo Alto, it was fucking electric. It was a really big deal. And so even by proof of this, 47, 40, this is the two top 50 teams. And here they are without a home. On top of that, beyond the football for a second, these are two of the best schools in the country. Stanford probably the best when it comes to winning that trophy. I think they call it like the Sears Trophy, which is the best overall athletic program. So when you talk about all of the schools, I mean, look, Stanford and Cal, between the Olympians that they put out there, could be their own fucking countries. So to just ignore them through this is bullshit. Now, look at this. Watch this. The participation numbers are a continuation of historic trends. A 2017 study by the painstaking researchers at OlympicStats.com says Stanford has produced more Olympians than any other university to that time, with 289. A distinction that almost assuredly holds true through Tokyo and the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, UCLA was second with 277, USC third with 251, and Cal fourth at 212. Some of the Cal and Stanford Olympians are obscure, and some of them are named Alex Morgan, Colin Morikawa, Holly McPeak, Helen Willis, Ryan Murphy, Nathan Adrian, Matt Biondi, Natalie Coughlin, Missy Franklin, Anthony Irvin, Mary T. Meager. Some are named Katie Ledecky, Bob Mathias, Julie Foudy, Jennifer Azzi, Simone Manuel, Carrie Walsh Jennings, Maggie Steffens, Jessica Mendoza, Summer Sanders, Jenny Thompson, Janet Evans, and Pablo Morales. As College Sports Inc. is kneecapping the athletic departments at Stanford and Cal in one fell swoop, is likely heavily damaging two of the primary American Olympic farm systems. Maybe that will resonate with someone. Academics clearly do not, regardless of public pronouncements of the Craven University presidents, and then roll over to the football revenue among Power 5 universities. Stanford is the highest rated in both the U.S. News and World Report national rankings, and those of the Center of the World University rankings, which are more research-based. Cal is tied for 6th and is the former and second in the latter, higher than any other public university. Okay. This is interesting. They're talking about the solutions. All right. Join the Mountain West Conference. What might work for Oregon State and Washington State doesn't necessarily work for Cal and Stanford. This would be a geographic fit, but a massive step down in terms of all sports competition and total revenue. Stanford and or Cal would be joining relative peers in terms of their current football and men's basketball standing, but would be far better than every MWC school and almost every Olympic sport. The academic profiles would be disparate as well. Another recommendation says, make a pitch to the ACC. This would be the best move in terms of academic alignment in Olympic sports prowess. I agree with this. I mean, the ACC, that's like Duke and Clemson and North Carolina, yeah. But it's an even worse fit than the Pac-12 schools joining the Big Ten geographically. It's fucking awful. You got to go to the South. Let's see here. The next one would be going independent in football and joining a league in the other sports. Yeah, that's one of the first things I thought. Where this would lead, who knows? Notre Dame has pulled it off thanks to a massive national following and its own TV deal. BYU survived it before jumping to the Big 12, also aided by national audience and BYU TV. They both put big crowds in their home stadiums and draw well on the road. Cal and Stanford, not so much as of late. Scheduling would be a major challenge. The other one says de-emphasize football and focus on everything else. I could see this happening. This would be something of an Ivy League approach, dropping the FCS in football while maintaining quality programs in other sports. You drop the FCS? Fuck. I'd go independent. You're Stanford. People would love to schedule you. You have the name. Everyone's going to feel sorry for you. You just got kicked to the curb. You're not that good, so you could go play a fucking monster schedule if you want. I think that's a terrible idea. You stay in the FCS for sure. It doesn't make any sense. The other one says find a unique source of revenue beyond evaporating TV money. I do agree with this. You're going to have to. A few Hail Marys, which probably would fall incomplete, ask the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee to step up and help fund the sports in which Cal and Stanford regularly supply American Olympians. Yeah. It says find your own T. Boone Pickens, alumni rainmaker. And in Stanford's case, beg for a tiny slice of that massive endowment. Well, look, this was coming to Stanford in the form of John Arriaga. Arriaga, I believe it just recently passed away, but he was the father-in-law of Mark Andreessen. Mark Andreessen is one of the most successful venture capitalists in the world. I had an opportunity to meet with him over No Filter. Giuseppe Pepe Manueli and I did. It was just an awesome meeting and real grateful for that opportunity. But I wonder where Andreessen or Arriaga's daughter is in all this. And it's not just one of them. I mean, shit. You had Sergey Brin and the other guy from Google. They're both Stanford alum. There's funding here. And all of it, and I'm sure they've all contributed to Stanford, but it's gone to this endowment. So the question is, how much of that endowment do you want to use? Create your own shit. If you're Stanford, I'm telling everyone to fuck off. I don't need a conference. And if you're going to have like the ACC championship, for example, have Stanford petition to be able to get in there and get involved. So yeah, the answer might be other sports. They talk about the geographic mess. 2 flights suck. You can't do 2 flights. And getting from San Francisco to North Carolina, do they have an SFO to Charlotte? Maybe they do. And I don't know if Charlotte's where you would fly into. We flew into Raleigh-Durham. I don't think they would have a direct into Raleigh-Durham. But it turns into a pain in the ass. You can figure it out. I mean, you're 1 flight away. So whether that flight's an hour and a half, as it is to Arizona, or the flight happens to be 4 hours, 5 hours, yeah, it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But you can figure out. I just think that Stanford, and I'm going to talk about them specifically, and Cal too, to a little bit of a lesser extent. You are educational savages with great sports programs, which is very rare. You have alumni with a fuck ton of money and all sorts of creativity flourishing through the minds of these geniuses who have shaped the world as we know it. You're telling me we can't figure out a solution that could be cutting edge and revolutionary in the college sports landscape? We can't. Together, I promise you, if all these Stanford and Cal geeks mesh the beautiful minds that are just brilliance, they can figure this shit out. If it's the 2 of them, if they add 2 more, whatever it is. Back in the day, I'll give you an example. We had the 6-pack. And so this might, it's almost like, can you imagine going the opposite direction? So everyone's going to these power conferences. There are 20 fucking teams in these conferences. It's you ask me, it's too much. But you have all these gigantic conferences now. What if they went the other way? What if they just went the 2 of them? What if they went 4? When I played college baseball, it was a 6-pack. That was it. You have these powerhouse Division I programs: Stanford, Cal, Arizona, Arizona State, USC, UCLA. Boom. Washington State. They were in the north. You had, I think, Portland State was in there too. Oregon didn't even have a baseball team. So why is this thing available? My point is, there's ways to be able to get around all of this and figuring out a flourishing environment. All right, let's see what else I had on tap here this morning. There was another article. Oh yeah, this right here. Severe weather across the United States potentially impact, Giuseppe Pepe. I just see you in the knock room, man. Hold tight. Let's get this severe weather, and then we're going to get Joe on. It says much of the eastern United States is facing the increasing threat of severe weather outbreak on Monday, with the atmosphere primed to unleash damaging winds, hail, drenching rainfall, and even a few tornadoes. Accounting for every level of severe storm risk, around 120 million people in the eastern United States could be impacted by damaging weather on Monday and Monday night as a potent storm system, especially for August, crosses the region. A level 4 of 5 moderate risk of severe thunderstorms is in place Monday, the first level 4 issued in the U.S. since June 29th. People who live or work in the area should have a plan in place to take shelter if warnings are issued. Winds gusts of the strongest storms could see speeds as high as 80 miles per hour, and then a few tornadoes are also possible from portions of the southeast to the northeast. The greatest risk of tornadoes on Monday will stretch from eastern Kentucky into central Maryland. Tornadoes may spin up quickly in the same lines of storms, bringing damaging winds, giving little time to get to safety. So that is all issued here by the National Weather Service. It says 65 records were set or tied over the weekend across cities in Arizona, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, and Texas. Dozens more could be set through Tuesday. The whole southern part of the country, Joe, is a fucking furnace, man.
Dude, I was just up in Europe, and I was in Rome for the hottest day on record. By the way, I hear an echo. Do you hear that echo as well?
No, but I think it's, you know what? It's funny because it's probably through my speakers.
Okay, gotcha.
That you're hearing it. So I could make an adjustment. Let's see, to put basically.
No, that's good. As long as you're not hearing it.
No, I don't hear it. But the last time I tried that, I came back and listened to it, and I definitely heard it on the recording.
Okay, Michelle says she hears it as well.
Yeah, let me see if I can connect these to it, and then that could save it.
Okay.
Let's see, settings. Or I could try this on the speaker. Mac Pro. Mic. Now.
Testing 1, 2. Yeah, much better. Oh,
really?
Still hear like echo. A little bit delayed, actually. No, it's better. Okay, it's good.
You sure?
The echo's gone. Yeah, I don't hear it. Michelle, is that good in the chat? Do you hear an echo? Okay, she said it's good now. Cool. Byrnsie, how the hell are you? I love the show today. I was writing down like these other stories that I was hoping you were going to cover. This could be like the new Monday segment of Daily Hustle where I come on and I talk about here's the other cool things in sports that happened that Byrnsie didn't talk about, and throw that out there. And there's 4 that just jumped to my head. That's why I had to jump in. So
okay,
you cool? Let's talk about the first one, which I think was the story of the weekend. The U.S. women's national soccer team gets eliminated, and Rapinoe, who is the face of the team, all about equal pay and lesbian rights, and we have a platform in the penalty kick segment of the game, it was tied against Sweden. She kicks a fucking field goal, completely misses the net. And what nobody's talking about, I actually think the story started at the ESPYs. I don't know if you saw the ESPYs this year, but the U.S. women's national team was given the Team of the Year award, which was bullshit because they didn't fucking do anything this year, right? And there were so many other teams that would have qualified for that. And it was all about how they fought the U.S. Soccer Federation for equal pay and how they have a platform. So they go into the World Cup, which they play once every 4 fucking years, by the way. Once every 4 years, you have one objective. This is the one thing you're supposed to do. And in the qualifying games, the first 3 games, what nobody talks about is they played horrible in the qualifying games. Almost lost to Nigeria, of all fucking teams. The 47th ranked team in the world almost beats them. Nigeria hits the goalpost in extra time. They get lucky. They move on, right? And as they go into this, because they did so poorly, they play the 3rd-ranked team in the world in the first round of the round of 16. And they play Sweden, which actually Sweden's been the better team, and they lose. So that is the number one story. And, of course, Twitter was going crazy. Instead of go woke, go broke. It's like go woke, go home. So Byrnsie, my question to you, and I know that Biscuit was involved with the U12 team, and they went down to Mexico. And in all these kids' heads, and you're coaching these kids, you're focusing on the game, you're focusing on winning, you're focusing on the outcome, and you handle your shit behind the scenes, right? Like you don't, right? Like everything else is secondary. You want a platform, get the gold. After you win the fucking gold, get on stage, go get interviewed on The Five or Good Morning America or whatever, and tell your story. But the first objective was lost, right?
Yeah.
And so you're a leader, you're coaching kids. Do you think that lack of focus, like it's almost like the game? And by the way, Rapinoe is the other, also known for taking a knee and not standing for the national anthem, right?
Yeah.
Being ashamed of being American. And if you're ashamed of being American, maybe you shouldn't be representing the United States of America in a tournament, right? Like stay home. Anyway, I think that was the biggest story, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you can make the argument that this is a team that's won 2 World Cups in a row. There's 2 ways to look at it. Was it lack of focus, or was it the fact that just they're old and there's going to be massive turnover? I was reading a couple articles. One of them questioned the coaching decisions that were made. And, instead of like Rodman's daughter basically saying that she should have been a much bigger part of this.
Sure.
Like she should have been in there in the most crucial times and moments. And there's this whole young core group that the time for them was now. Yeah. And it's, whether, I don't know, was it Alex Morgan or Rapinoe, like, I don't want to talk too much on something that I don't know enough about. I do think there needs to be a complete and total buy-in to something. And you're spot on in saying that if your focus isn't there and your mind's elsewhere, when you're playing for a gold medal, or in this case, a World Cup, like, dude, you have to be 100% all in, and everyone sets aside whatever personal and political agendas that they have. Yeah. So I don't think that it certainly didn't help at all. I would make the argument that it hurt, but their execution on the field is ultimately what did them in. And the moonshot that Rapinoe sent to fucking the Galaxy was not good. There was another one of the U.S. girls tried to dink it and hit it off the right crossbar, and they completely fucked that up. And they had all these shots on goal during the game. So maybe you have to give credit. Not maybe, you do have to give credit to the Swedish goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
That had the day of her life.
She stood on her head.
Yeah, just overall, I mean, there's obviously going to be some massive turnover. I did see a thing last night. I don't know if you saw it on SportsCenter. And it basically was just talking about, am I missing on this, but like Sue Bird, who happens to be Rapinoe's fiance or something. Maybe I don't know. I actually think they should have never faced Sweden to begin with in the round of 16, right? And the Swedish goalie was the best goalie. The best player in the U.S. national team is a 22-year-old. She plays for Chelsea. She played great. She also missed a penalty kick, by the way, right? But she's 22 years old. So, yeah, I agree with you. They are a team in transition, right? And you have a core group of 22, 23, 25-year-old girls who are going to come back 4 years from now. And then the Rapinoes and, the team that won the last 3 World Cups actually are gone, right? They should be done now and you move on. But there needs to be – the coach will absolutely get fired. You call a spade, but I actually think they were there for the wrong reason, right? They were there to get their message out there. And all I'm saying is go do the job you're being sent to do, right?
So you got a bigger piece of the pie, right? You negotiated that. Congratulations, you're out of the World Cup in the first round. You now get a bigger piece of zero, of fuck all, right? You go from 10% of winning the winning money to 50% of squadouche of Sweet FA. Anyway, number 2 story I want to talk about is
the whole Super thing was basically saying it, and I'm really cautious to do this and to judge from the outside because everyone's piling on Rapinoe at this point. But Suber was, I think it was her, was basically saying that, like, look, like those who are close to Megan love her. And I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. You have to be in the locker room to really know and understand that. I'd like to talk to a lot of the younger U.S. girls because I think that those are the ones that have the best perspective on what kind of person she is. She did say something along the lines of like, look, like the whole kneeling thing even wasn't because she hates America, it's because she loves America, it's because she wants to make it a better place. I would say the fight for equality and equal pay, totally agree with her. Sure. In a lot of these sports, especially that are dominated by women, in the United States specifically, I mean, the men haven't done shit, and the women have been winning the past 2 World Cups. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. And even though whatever, nothing's coming back their way now because of this loss or whatever else, you still like to think, she's championed that for future generations. So there's a lot of good that was done. But ultimately, in summing up, and we'll get to the next story, look, man, you got to be fucking all in. And whatever political agendas that you have and whatever, side projects that you want to promote or anything else, your platform is going to be 10x when you guys win the fucking gold. And when you don't, nobody gives a shit. And nobody's going to listen to you. So there's a time and place for everything. You guys had your opportunity to get it done. You fucked it up. Now your platform's not going to be nearly what it was. And you're going to take the ridicule. It's going to happen. It's the nature of the beast, dude. Yeah. Literally, like it's digging your grave and having to lie in it.
I completely agree. And as far as equal pay to the men, like you can't compare the revenue that comes in to the U.S., men's team participating in the men's World Cup. Like the TV rights alone are something like $11 billion, right? Like it's an order of magnitude of like 20x. You're not going to get equal pay. However, they did fight for an equal percentage of the take, which was cool, and just to be being treated a bit better, which is good, which is fine. By the way, the Canadian soccer team, the Canadian women's soccer team, which won the Olympic gold medal 2 years ago and is ranked in the top 5 in the world, also did not make it out of the round robin stage. They did not make it for the first time ever. And guess what? They were in the middle of a negotiation on how they were going to get paid while they're fucking playing. And like you got to take care of that shit before, like way before, like 6 months before, right? And I blame the Canadian Soccer Federation as much as the girls, right? Like if you're going in there feeling like you're getting screwed and you're not focusing, like and by the way, there's 32 teams now, which is great for women's soccer. I mean, I think it's awesome that teams like Nigeria, South Africa's playing great, first World Cup, like Sweden winning, and so someone else, the Matildas, the Aussie women won. England just got by today, by the way. England is now the favorites to win it. I think it's great for women's soccer. Like I think it's fabulous. But anyway, I digress. So I think it's my main point was the lack of focus. So you're going there to fucking win, and then once you win, deliver your message. And they went in there preaching when they should have been playing, right? And that's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Number 2 story, Deschambault.
Oh, yeah. 58.
Shoots a 58.
Holy shit.
At Greenbrier, by the way, which is a legit golf course, to win his first live golf tournament. He sinks a huge birdie putt, like a 30-footer on 18, because he was going to break 60.
60-footer. I mean, that thing
Well,
was
it was a 60-footer, yeah, which was amazing, right? And by the way, the record for any professional golf event is 57. So he's the fourth player to shoot a 58 at that level. And he goes off obviously and wins the tournament. But that was a hell of a story. Now, I feel like live golf is being suppressed, right? Like you don't see that. You have to dig for that. The whole live PGA thing, I think, is still outstanding and going, but that's still pretty fucking legit, right? Like shooting a 58.
Dude, bro, there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, I mean, at Greenbrier,
I don't know, maybe there wasn't, but the stands look packed. Yeah,
the stands are packed, and the fans have a blast, right? The format's good. I mean, they took a page out of baseball, right? They really try hard to make the event last a certain amount of time. And DeChambeau, by the way, is one of the slowest fucking players on tour, right? But one of the things that Live Golf does is they do shotgun starts, right? So they don't actually start you off, every 10 minutes like in PGA. Everybody starts at the same fucking time. They all go out on the course. And so the event basically lasts 2.5 hours, right? It doesn't last 8 hours, and then you only catch the last 2 hours and the guys who are in last place, which is I think it's pretty cool. There's some pretty cool ideas coming out of Live. Next big story. Erik Karlsson. This is an NHL story. Huge trade. Erik Karlsson wins the Norris Trophy for the San Jose Sharks. Becomes the oldest player ever to get over 100 points in a season, gets traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. People are saying the Sharks didn't get much back. What they did was they shed $10 million. So he makes $11.5 million a year. He's got three more years on his contract, and he's 33. They pick up $1.5 million of the $11.5 million. So they free up $10 million in cap space. And to put that in perspective, the salary cap for hockey is like $70 million. If you're paying one guy $11 million, that doesn't give you much room to build a team around the guy, right?
No.
So they trade him off. The Pens then send their top defenseman, Petrie, used to play for Montreal actually, back to the Habs. The Habs actually made out great. Didn't have to pick up any cap, and then they sent a couple of basically grinders to San Jose. But that's huge news, right, in hockey. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is Jeremy Roenick and Tim Pool, famous NHL referee, are both starting a show exclusively on No Filter that's going to be starting a week before the hockey season starts on October 4th. So we're going to get JR on and talk about this and all these other big trades. But this was a huge trade. And for the Bay Area folks, Erik Karlsson, we had two great freaking offensive defensemen. Byrnsie, the other Byrnsie, right, who's traded to Carolina, and Erik Karlsson are both gone, and we're basically in rebuild mode now.
Yeah, they've been in rebuild mode, right? Over the past couple of years,
Sharks,
they haven't been there. So it wouldn't make a ton of sense to keep a guy like that. I got a question for you. And this is a hockey question I want to get GR on here and talk about. But you had Tim Anderson square off with Jose Ramirez.
Yeah.
In a hockey style fight is what I called it on IG and what we posted on No Filter's account. And then there was a lot of buzz. Dallas Braden being another player that came out and said this. He's been advocating for years to do these hockey style fights in baseball. Yeah. And the reason being is that it saves baseball from the melee and 25 guys and 50 total running out there like a bunch of wild fucking animals. And it lets the two guys square off and go at it.
Yeah.
Now, I do think we can make it even better or safer if we want to put some protective headgear and some boxing gloves on.
Nah.
But bro, I fucking loved it. I mean, did you think, is that what you thought when you first saw the two of them square off?
Well, okay. My first thought, Anderson, who's right-handed, right? He's a right-handed puncher, right? You're square up with me, man. Square up with me. You're right-handed, right?
Yeah, like
you
this.
jab with your left, right? He sets up like this. He sets up like he's a lefty, right? So he puts the dukes up, and then he takes his first swing. What does he do? You said this before. He opens himself right up. He takes a freaking swat, right? Yeah. And the reason he got knocked on his ass is because he was exposed on his left side. That's his first mistake. You got to set up like this. You're a right-hander, right? You're a right-hander. Like, and if you're going to square up, this is how you square up. And if you take a shot, look at me, I'm closed. I'm not open, right? That was his first fucking mistake. So you got to teach these guys how to box. JR taught me something when we met JR down in Arizona for that first time a couple of years ago. He says when he fights, he says, especially if I'm fighting a guy who's stronger than me, like a Bob Probert, he says the first thing you want to do, you square up, but you want to grab the bicep, the shirt of the bicep of the arm that the guy is going to hit you at. That's what you want to do. So if you actually look at hockey players, they don't actually throw a cold swing. They're grabbing each other. It's all positioning. And then once they grab the jersey, if I've got your bicep on the right hand, it's obstructed, right? And so I can't, now if that thing frees up, you're fucked, right? Like if the punching arm frees up and the guy's bigger than you, right? But that was it. And then I think Ramirez got lucky. I mean, that was just a fucking blind hook, but he hit him square, right? So, and then there should be a rule in hockey. There's a third man in rule, right? Like if you and I go up against each other and you're going to kick my ass, my teammate comes in and says, oh shit, Joey's going to get his ass kicked here. And he jumps in the middle and he goes after you. That guy's out of the game. The third guy is out of the game in hockey, right? Yeah. And so the problem with baseball, Ramirez is out there and he's alone. It kind of reminded me of Will Clark, when he and Ozzy went at it and there's like 5 guys who jump him at the same time. So at that point in time, I think, it was normal to assume that, Ramirez was in trouble. If you're going to allow them to do that, then baseball would have to change the rules and say, Ramirez and Anderson have to go at it. And if anyone tries to obstruct Ramirez on the team, that guy gets thrown out of the game. Right. Yeah. I mean, it was the cool thing about it, bro, is a message was sent by both sides and there's mutual respect and there's a little bit of hate and it makes it fun to watch the next time these two teams play, right? Yeah. You're building a rivalry.
Well, Anderson's pissed, so I think he's looking for redemption.
Oh, yeah.
He started deleting all that shit because he didn't want them to go back and look at those tweets and say, he basically said we're getting redemption. Like I'm he's pissed, he got embarrassed, he got hot.
He got embarrassed.
Yeah. He wants to get him back. So these are two teams that, bro, they play each other a lot, man.
I know. It's fun. It's great for the game, man. It's absolutely great for the game. So all right, bro. Well, looking forward to coming up to Tahoe this week. And great show as always. Just wanted to jump in and cover the other things. By the way, Lionel Messi scored another 2 goals for Miami FC yesterday. And Miami moves on. He scores another kind of free kick, a golazzo in the 89th minute to tie it, and then they win it in penalty kicks. Messi did not miss the penalty kick, by the way. And, just really, really fun to see a guy embrace. Like, he's putting MLS on the map globally, right?
Why did he come to MLS?
So he was offered a ridiculous amount of money by the Saudis, a Saudi team, which is where Cristiano Ronaldo went. Like I'm talking like $700 million for 3 years, like ridiculous money, right? But they did a deal with Apple. So Apple is streaming all the MLS games now, and they're doing a biography on the Messi family. And so the rumor is that he was given a percentage of the streaming revenue from Apple. That's how they were able to bring him in. And you know what? He's embracing America. He's got a beautiful wife, 2 young kids. He's out at Publix, like fucking shopping for groceries in Miami, bro. Right? Like, so here's a guy who chooses to live in America. And I look at the parallels, right, between Rapinoe and Messi. You can argue that Rapinoe is the best player in women's soccer, and here's the best player in the world. He chooses to come in America and embraces living here. And you know what, dude? He's having a blast. He's having so much fun, right? So he turned down a lot more money to come live in America, which is pretty cool. I guess he doesn't need money, right? Like,
well, you know what?
To a certain point.
It's a pretty cool fucking place, man.
Oh, Miami is a great city too. Huge, he's Argentinian, like just an amazing South American population that live in Miami. So he couldn't have landed at a better place. Beckham is a part owner as well. And it's nice to see him embrace it, and nice to see him put, the beautiful game on the map here in the U.S. So it's a lot of fun.
All right, dude. Well, I'll talk to you in about 50 minutes. I got to run to the perk and get some breakfast.
That call's been moved to tomorrow. All the team calls.
Oh.
So we good.
No, now I get to go to the perk and enjoy my breakfast.
Enjoy your breakfast. No rush.
Instead, I have to woof it down. All right.
All right, brother.
Yeah. Let's get some baseball bets going.
Let's catch up later for sure. Yeah.
I'm feeling sexy right now.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Hi, bro.
And wait, hold on. I cannot let you go without giving you the
appropriate send-off.
And there he goes. Okay, let's finish this Daily Hustle Life Optimization podcast off with a little James Allen. That's right. As a man thinketh. I don't know why I've just keep going back to this gem of a book, but because it's a gem of a book. The thought factor in achievement. All that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is a direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another. And they can only be altered by himself, never by another. You know what that's called, folks? Fucking accountability. Of all the shows, this certainly has been one of them. Daily Hustle back on Wednesday for sure, potentially tomorrow. We'll see. Like to keep things fluid around here. I believe Deuces Wild with Will the Thrill back tomorrow as well. So looking forward to a fun week. Everyone have a great day. That's it. See ya.